champions out into the jungle. They're then followed by many junglers around the world. This time around, it's Shen, which, to be honest, in the past has never been that convincing for me, but Diamond going to be able to, I'm sure, prove us wrong in this one. We're in game, it's Roccat versus Gambit, the game to decide who sits in second and possibly first place by the end of today.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult game, I think, for both teams. I feel like Gambit are going to take a little bit of a longer time to ramp up here. You know, once Mundo and Olaf and Kale hit 6, I think they can have a lot of fun really engaging and trying to counter jungle, steal some buffs away from Gambit. Once Diamond Prox does eventually get to that Stand United level of Shen, then all of a sudden the tables can be turned. Then he can join a fight, he can siege. It's also going to allow him to continue farming for a much longer period of time without necessarily responding around the map.
Looks like Diamond might be starting on that top side here. Jankos also on the top side of the map currently, but only 110 into this. He can, of course, still change around. Darian waiting up on the top side as well. And as you mentioned, only really Millennium that have been doing this 5-man group and have a bit of scout down, usually actually from the red side into the blue side's bottom jungle, is something that they've tried. We can see that Edward's waiting here, possibly to throw a ward down on top of the ramp. And Overpower's just having a dance in mid, smacking himself on the head with the sword.
Having a moment, making sure he's ready for the battle. I think, you know, the key to this game is going to be how much of an impact Jankos can have in these early stages. He's going to have stronger, lower-level engages against Diamond Shen, should be able to bully him, but he's not going to be able to invade without a little bit of support, either from Xaxus or from Overpower. So, wards and timing on when they engage is going to be key. The other thing to consider is that the duo lane of Jinx and Kennen is going to have much better kill potential on that Caitlyn Thresh once they get a couple levels, once the stuns are available, and even more so once Kennen has his ultimates.
Well, we are going to see that 2v2 going up in that one, and we can see that actually Roccat have pushed this wave out pretty quickly. They're going to be about halfway to that level 2 point and just want to get it straight up onto the turret as much as they can. That's the interesting thing that we talked about, the facts of Genja. At least yesterday his statistics were showing that he was actually the weakest AD carry in terms of farm come to the 10-minute mark. And we'll see how he deals with Celeron and Vander in this 2v2.
I think that Celeron and Vander have got some of the best laning as far as duos are concerned. They've been able to push a lot of people around, and catching Edward's going to help.
Yeah, catching the hook in onto him. He's hit level 2, of course, and Edward going to be forced to flash. 90 caliber net coming in. One more auto attack should do it, but Edward uses the flash in the very last second there to get back behind the turret.
Genja and Edward needed levels for them to be able to trade. They didn't have the time to get some poke down from Jinx's range and the stun from Kennen. So obviously a hook and a flay is going to push him backwards. Now without that flash available, if Edward missteps and overvalues that lightning rush power of his, he's going to get caught and potentially give up first blood.
Vander quite happy to just throw the hooks out there on the tower itself, see if he can catch Genja as Diamond comes into this middle lane, but honestly pretty slow moving that Shen, and with the wards down, easily spotted and won't really be able to have much of an impact. And you can see the early clear speed there really between Shen and Olaf. Jankos up to 15 CS to the 9 of Diamond right now.
I want to keep our eyes on the numbers, how it continues to grow. And you know, you heard Dexter saying at the beginning of the day how the changes to the Spirit Stone items giving HP and mana back will help out. It works if you go for Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. We'll see what Diamond decides to itemize, because he can get a lot of HP back, he can sustain fairly well. Darian immediately with a counter invade for some vision.
Yeah, getting that ward down by the blue buff, so he's going to spot early on when Olaf actually comes towards this top lane, and you can see that he'll spot Jankos right now, who's just going to head over and do himself the white. And interesting to see how Shyvana does in this one. The first time that we've seen Shyvana in the top lane since the 4.1 changes here in the European LCS. We know that obviously going to ramp up a little bit slow, but still gets to a very similar position by the end.
Yeah, so the two changes that were made, just to quickly remind you, Burnout has been smacked fairly heavily. It will be lower at all ranks 1 through 5, but Flame Breath will scale up to fairly close level once you get it up to rank 5. What it means though is it's going to take Darian a little bit of a longer time to bully Dr. Mundo around if he decides to go for that Blade of the Ruined King. And I think the reason he put that ward by the white camp was to give Diamond a bit of a timing and information on when Jankos was going to invade. And you can see Jankos did actually come up and sort of scare Diamond towards the double golems up top.
Another thing to mention as well is that Xaxus is running teleport on this one, so Mundo going to be called into action at some point. You know, Overpower, we have to think back to promotion with the Kale that one-shots everything. If they allow him that time to get to that beast and have Xaxus super tanky, Jankos who can be tanky and have the damage and run through everyone, that's actually a really, really scary combo that they've got.
It is very scary, but it can theoretically be countered by Command Protect and Stand United. You know, one of the things that both of these teams have is the ability to save a single teammate from potentially life-threatening engage, and we'll see who can coordinate themselves better. I like the fact that Kennen has more sustained damage, and as you see, Jankos has snuck himself into the bottom bush, and he's pulled Edward forward. Edward almost took the bait. Does get hooked!
Wow, what a hook as well from Vander. He's going to knock Edward back. Is he going to get past there? He's going to go very low. No flash, of course, because of that earlier fight. And there is the first blood coming in for Celiva. Genja did some good damage, but not enough to get a kill back. And that hook from Vander, wow.
That was brilliant. I thought that Edward was going to back away. He moved back at the right second, but he moved just to the right at that last, melee minion. And a brilliant, brilliant hook from Vander. We talked about how Celiva and Vander are a very aggressive, strong duo lane. And because of the first blood, that's definitely going to work in their favor. Now Alex is in trouble.
Yep, going on to him. He's actually going to speed himself up there. The axe landing in, and there is Diamond waiting off to the side. He's going to get a good taunt down towards Jankos, who actually gets the ultimate out of Overpower, but Overpower is still going to be chasing on this one. Throws down the ultimate. He's going to go for Alex. He's got no mana to escape. They both flash. One more swing of the sword will do it. That's 2-0 Roccat.
Alex had no mana. He couldn't get the shockwave down. He used the last bit of his mana for that Command Protect. Managed to survive a little bit longer, but great reactive flash from Overpower, allowing Roccat a strong early lead. And this is what Roccat need to capitalize on. Keep pushing Gambit backwards, get good vision around some of the objectives, a dragon or a tower, and then extend that global gold.
Such a great start for Roccat again. Looking to take second place here after week 2, or as I said again, depending on how Fnatic Super Hot Crew goes, the possible first position as well. Roccat again just freezing out this lane. 54 to 46 CS is in that bottom lane. Also the Vamp Scepter already in position for Celiva, so they could stay in this lane for such a long time and trade with Genja and Edward.
I think the way the lanes are going right now for Roccat, that they're even up top, that Jankos has had 2 good ganks already. I feel like they could probably hope to stay in the laning phase a little bit longer. Keep to draw it out, maybe let Jankos get a little bit more ganks off. Ooh, that was very close. And if they can get a few more kills on the board, then it'll translate to a lot of objectives quickly. And we'll see if Roccat agree with that, depending on how they play out these next couple of minutes.
Diamond has not really come that much out of the jungle. You can see that the minion score between them has actually pulled pretty much even now as well. And interested to see how Diamond develops here, because he is at level 6, so does have that Stand United available to get involved around the map.
Yeah, and remember that their CS is even with Jankos having 2 successful ganks, so
that's true.
He's definitely going to be ahead. Jankos has already exerted his presence on the map, as it were, moving around the different places, and very interesting to see Diamond actually going for that Madrid's Razor as a first item, as opposed to maybe something a little more standard like that Spirit Stone. I really want to see how he itemizes, because this is the first time we've seen a jungle Shen in the Season 4 patch.
In a very long time. I think the beginning of the summer split last year was when we saw a couple of jungle Shens coming out, but never really took off, I think is the right way to put that one.
I agree. I think it's a little bit too passive of a playstyle when, as a jungler, yes, that taunt is very powerful, but if the rest of your solo laners can't finish somebody off, you don't offer a huge hell of a lot. What it will allow Gambit to do, though, is get very strong split pushing. It'll allow Shyvana or Shen to push a lane, and you can react very, very quickly, more efficiently than with that teleport that Xaxus is currently running. And as we see, it's actually a Wriggles Lantern picked up here from Diamond Proc, so very interesting itemization on this jungle Shen.
Yeah, another item that we just don't really see that much here in Europe. We are going to see Jankos actually coming around towards that mid lane. I tell a lie, he's just back off to keep farming things up. lead building for him. We can see that the Stinger is in already for Overpower at this point, and that bottom lane getting pushed up as well. But there we're going to see the big fight in the top lane. Darian actually trying to get in. Stan United is going to be used, and Zazas is running basically to no man's land. Flash in there from Darian, and that was going to be a dead Zazas. It's just a matter of time on this one, and it is Diamond that actually picks up the kill. There's Stan United.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we needed to see. The fact that Darian is going to be able to bully Zazas around. However, it took a lot more time. Before the fight started, they were actually fairly close on CS. Darian had completed his Cutlass already, and even with the Negatron Cloak and a Chain Vest, he was able to burn through a lot of Zaz's HP. That teleport being a non-combat summoner definitely hurt him in that situation. And Gambit get themselves on the board. Gold is actually even now after that kill.
Even Stevens, 2-1 in the kills, and Jankos is he going to go for this dragon? Actually started it off there, and bottom lane of Gambit's nowhere to be seen. They've got vision on all the fronts that they need it. We see that Gambit are pinging, but they're going to have to give it up.
Yeah, there's nothing Gambit can do about this. Stand United was just used. Roccat realized the bottom lane is missing. There's no Stand United available. And what was actually happening in the mid lane was Overpower was getting in Alex's face a little bit, trying to push him a little bit away. And that allowed Roccat a free time on the dragon, no one to contest it. And that was what we were talking about in the pregame, how Roccat and Gambit highly value that objective.
See also that the CS in that top lane for Darian is actually increasing here. 89 to 71, obviously had that bit more time now in lane, but that is another hook coming in on towards Edward. Zap actually coming down. Here comes the aggressive play out of Gambit. The box goes down. Vander picks up the kill, but Genja will get one back. That's going to make him run in there quicker, but Celiva flashes back to the safety of his tower. Good timing as well, because we saw them coming in. Yeah, Darian's fighting up in the top lane. By fighting, I mean being destroyed. And Overpower gets his second kill. Yeah,
Darian I don't think should have been overextending. He's a little overconfident in that matchup, knowing that he can bully Dr. Mundo around. We are going to have a replay. This is the top lane fight, and I think actually Darian just got chased down. He wasn't even past the tower. Interestingly, trying to buy as much time as possible to use that Dragon's Descent up. At the end of the day, he was just caught out, I'm afraid.
Yeah, just basically wasting time. As best as he could before he was finished off in that kill. But if you look at the bottom lane now, a killer piece, BF Sword, Vamp Scepter is what that gives Celiva. On the other side, Double Doran's Blade, plus a BF Sword there as well for Genja. And we saw that fight, it's all a little bit strange because both teams feel, I think, that they're stronger than the other, but it works out to be not always the case as they engage.
Yeah, the two things you want to take away from the duo lane fight down bottom is that it was started by Vander. Vander got a hook onto Edward, they got a couple of auto attacks down, and only after that did Edward actually respond with Slicing Maelstrom. And the moment that was thrown down, Roccat started the retreat. They also did see Diamond coming from the river. So I think once they get that Slicing Maelstrom cooldown available, I actually feel like Genja and Edward should be able to win that fight if they start it. If they commit, get a good stun down, and get some more damage onto the side of Roccat. Darian, why are you here? He's picking another fight.
This is very last season Darian, isn't it? You know, get completely out of position and then try and get away. Actually, this time he manages to dragon over the wall, and he's going to run the burnout and actually walk away from that one. So a little bit safer this time around. Overpower not able to lock him down like last time.
Yeah, knowing Zazas didn't have flash, and of course Jankos is running that ghost on Olaf, so couldn't chase him. He's even got enough audacity to lifesteal off these double golems before he backs away. In terms of CS, we have to look at the mid lane because Overpower is falling quite far behind Alex. That's 40 right now. It hasn't equated to kills because or goal difference because of the kills. And as it stands right now, Edward, he's going in. He started.
He's going in from this one. Jinx is a little bit far behind him there, but they know that Vander's got no escape. And, well, there's Shenta joining the party, and this is going to be an easily finished off kill. Genja makes it his second of the game, but Roccat are actually coming around the side. There's the ghost coming down from Jankos. Can he actually get one them? He goes in towards Edward. Reckless swing comes down. Celiva gets a kill back. Good reactions from Roccat.
Very good indeed. You actually seen the mid laner as well as the jungler were responding to that dive. Gambit were looking to get a little more. It's not over yet as they were actually pushing on the fight, and this is basically just a quick replay. And this is what we're talking about. If Edward and Genja start the fight, if they engage first, they have the backup potential of Stand United, and I actually think even without it, probably could have got the kill. Genja was holding on to his ultimate there to prevent wasting it, as it were. And just good timing from Jankos to finally throw down that Ragnarok of his couldn't get locked up by Genja.
I want to give credit there to Vander as well, because he actually hooked Genja in the middle of the fight, and they wanted that kill to go over to Genja, so it took him a longer time to pick it up, which actually allowed Jankos to come around the side and get them that one single kill back. So with all that said and done, leaves us with 1,000 gold difference still. The Bloodthirster, by the way, completed now there for Celiva, but can he compete with the damage that you get out of the likes of Kennen and Jinx? As once again, the hooks, they've all been incredibly accurate from Vander, just a couple of them not quite had the range.
Just too short, and unfortunately not catching Edward. I think Edward is playing a little too aggressive on Kennen, maybe overvaluing how scary he is. We do see Overpowers moving up to this top lane. They have the potential to dive Darren, but he's got Flash and Dragon's Descent, so not going to be able to really lock him down.
No, and Darian just trying to run as much interference on that one. Xaxus with his ultimate running, he's regenning right up to full HP, but look at this, Diamond is coming in. Darian gonna ulti, and that's a lot of damage on towards Overpower. There is Diamond, actually the taunt missing, but doesn't matter. He gets the kill in there, but Darian did go down at the back as well.
Trading 1 for 1, and you're giving kills to Overpower and Kayle. We've seen what he can do with that champion if he gets fed, and I think Gambit needs to be a little bit wary when it comes to dealing with him. You know, good counterplay by Xaxus as well as Overpower to avoid that flash taunt from Diamond. Didn't manage to lock anybody up, and unfortunately Darian goes down. He's finished his Blade of the Ruined King, but he's not building tanky yet. He's relying on that ultimate for his defensive statistics.
And once again, Celiva and Vander push up this lane, and one thing that we've always seen is that the hooks have been landing, but
look at
are we going to see anyone coming in? Yeah, that's Genja going super low, and his positioning there told me that he didn't actually expect how much damage was going to come out.
Well, that's a Bloodthirster that's getting closer and closer to being fully stacked for Celiva, and Genja's working with just a BF sword. Thanks to all the damage he's dealt with, he's now backing off, and he's gone for a Zeal as opposed to finishing off that Bloodthirst. And I think it's because if he gets a good crit, it means they can turn the aggression, jump in. But, as Deficio mentioned yesterday, as we've talked about, a bad recall in that bottom lane means the tower goes down.
Tower down, and that actually is the first of this game. Going over towards Roccat, and the gold now sitting at a 2,000 difference. So slowly but surely, Roccat building up these advantages with a dragon now live. This is where things get interesting. Gambit don't give up dragons for free.
No, they want to fight for this one. Stand United is available as well. Teleport is up for Xaxus, but I think Xaxus has to time his teleport early. He cannot afford to wait for a fight to break out. As it stands, they've caught Diamond a little bit with some poking. Xaxus is left untouched. He's doing exactly the right thing because nobody started Dragon yet. Roccat are running a lot of interference.
Darian coming up from this one. Xaxus is just going to wait things out and do the damage there. As Genja and Celiva just having a bit of an exchange down bottom as well. And the question is, will Darian leave Xaxus to go back, knowing that he can actually teleport out of this one? And it looks like he actually will. Xaxus now backing away towards that Tribush, but the bottom lane is actually pushed up on towards the turret. Jankos is moving in to get some wards in position, but Diamond is there as well.
This tense situation around the dragon is going to play out for a little while longer. Gambit now have sort of a numbers advantage at this second, but as it stands, Alex is way out of position. Darian's not going to be able to join for a while because teleport's available for Xaxus. So I actually anticipate Gambit to pull Darian down and probably try start the dragon as a bait to pull Roccat towards them. If they don't, it's because they're not feeling powerful enough, and Roccat have a superior vision in that area.
Alex Itch there, we just saw how much damage he's actually doing, up at 204 CS to the 146 of Overpower's Kayle, although obviously the kill's very much in favour of Overpower. But that Nielsi Lord Rod doing a lot of damage into it. We see that Gambit once again going to be kicking off the dragon. Jankos is here for this one. Diamond and Jankos both having that smite available, but Roccat, are they going to come too late into this one? Actually, they're not going to come into this one at all. Jankos forced to ulti and back out.
All of the vision Roccat had to play with, Celiva and Vander backed away, Gambit knew that they backed away, and they immediately went for the dragon. They didn't wait for them to react. They didn't wait for Roccat to pull the fight out. So that's one dragon apiece in this game as it stands, if memory serves, and I think that was just a misplay by Roccat. They had the vision, they had the ability to challenge, and the urge to spend money forced them to back away.
spend that money, which gave the static shiv actually to Celever on top of that Bloodthirster that was completed early on. As you mentioned, Genja kind of went half-half on that one, picking up the BF sword and then taking himself the Zeal. So until he gets one of those, or both of those really complete, then he's going to struggle if it comes to a 1v1 against Celever, although we know how much damage Jinx just does, frankly.
Luckily for Genja, even though he's behind in AD, Edward's cannon will at least assist in trying to mitigate that damage deficit. As it stands though, Gambit are still too afraid to challenge for this blue buff. You can see Genja's a little bit away. He needs to pull up, and I actually think Roccat managed to sneak the one just off the bottom of your screen. Blue buff is now running around in the bush. There's the vision, who disappeared for a second. This could turn out to be a very, very big fight.
All over a blue buff at this point, which is marching back and forth after being aggroed from Gambit. Roccat are sticking around with this one, and Vander's hook going to be on cooldown for a little while now, but if that gets going in there, if they can get this started off as Zazas here and Darian in the top lane and just bashing heads once again, there is the blue buff leashed out towards the Roccat team, but Gambit there as well.
Yeah, they need to see who's going to engage. Vander gets Diamond!
Yeah, Diamond going to get hooked in. There's the shockwave. It's a 3-mana as Edward going to move in as well, but Jankos half HP still. It's Celever that's the focus. Great ulti out of Overpower. They're going to try and escape this one, but they can't. A good kill for Alex 6, but the box keeping them locked in position is going to mean that the rest of them get away. So 1-for-1 in the end, but it's the jungler for the AD carry.
Yeah, definitely in favor of Gambit for that situation. Zazas was trying to get away. It's not over. It's now Edward may be in trouble from Overpower. He may actually get shut down. A great shockwave coming out from Alex Sich there worked in his favor. We do actually see Edward gets away cleanly thanks to that lightning rush of his.
Yep, and Alex actually turning the damage around onto Overpower there. Really doing quite a lot to him. We saw, well, if you land those perfect shockwaves, you're always going to have good team fights. That's just how it works. And Genja is sat at 2-0-1 now as well, so he's not only ahead in farm, which Genja somehow always sneakily does. You don't really notice him. Then you look at the scoreboard and notice that he's somehow pulled back ahead in terms of, yes, he's now got the kills added into that as well. Bloodthirster is done, and I'm guessing he's not going to be too far away from that next item either.
Yeah, he needs to be stacking up that Bloodthirster right now. As it stands, Celevar, he's going to be farming his way up as well. Got that single death, which drops some of the charges, and I think the one concern for me for that previous fight was once Roccat had engaged on the blue buff, Gambit actually dispersed. They backed away. We've seen Edward on the retreat with the Stand United, and then he had to re-engage like, oh, okay, I see Diamond is coming into support. So a little bit of, I think, confusion and maybe miscommunication there from Gambit in that fight. But we'll have to see how it pans out, as it still is only 800 gold that separates these two teams.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if they all spread out, Olaf can only go for one, Mundo can only go for one, Overpower can really only go for one, and by the time they've done that, they can hit them from all sides. Roccat have to pick the perfect targets in those scenarios. I
think the difference maker is also going to be whoever gets Stand United, whatever the plural is of that.
That's a real thing.
And whoever gets the intervention from Kayle.
Intervention,
that one. Because whoever is affected by that ability, if they don't make an impact, that could cost your team the fight. And I think those are the key abilities to keep tabs on, because there's strong engage from both of these teams. There's strong disengages that can happen as well.
Oh, Hawk coming out from Vander, and that's one of the first that he's, well, I say he missed. He got a minion, didn't he? So it's technically not a missed hook, I suppose, coming out from him. Zazas is on that top side of the map as well. He's going back off to lane, and Overpower going to have that Lich Bane coming in soon, and that's where the Kayle starts to get scary.
I think she's scary already, but that's going to help, that's for sure. I want to also highlight the differences in the item builds between the supports. Vander's already got himself those boots of mobility, wants to land a good hook, and he's also working his way towards that Talisman of Ascension. Over on the other side, Edward, realizing that he's going to be on the front line and needs to be engaging the fights for Gambit, he's actually gone for a Giant's Belt as his first item. And what we have seen him do is go for a Rylai's Crystal Scepter both times he's played the cannon. So I think he may even try to rush this before going for GP10.
Yeah, and that health from that, really a perfect time, because he knows he's going to have to dive in there anyway. Needs that HP on his side. We'll see how that one all works out. We've gone into a bit more of a quiet period as both teams start to collect those buffs that they need and get back to pushing a few minions out, earning a bit more gold, and we can see the overpower there. That Lich Bane now done for him. Blue buff on as well. Meanwhile, the AD carries. Genja still not quite finished off that static Shiv, and on the other side, the last Whisper almost done for Selova.
Now, the thing that we see every time Gambit feel that they are behind is they send Genja to split push. If Genja is not confident enough to team fight, he will always solo split push a lane. This we've actually seen costing Gambit games because they want to get Genja to a point where he is powerful and where he can contribute meaningfully. And because he's only got one item completed, Gambit are just going to try keep stalling this game out, slowing it down to allow their champions to pull themselves into it. And yes, Alex is pulling ahead in CS, but there's a 50 CS deficit between Olaf and Shen, as Darren's taking a lot of damage from Overpower.
Yeah, it does have his Spirit Visage there, and it's going to reduce a lot of that damage from Overpower, but still not really as much as he might want to. However, Dragon is up and Darien has come down. Genja's moving in from that bottom lane. Roccat have to react to this one if they want to have a go at it.
They've got the ability. You can see Xaxus has channeled his teleport. Dragon's at about half HP. Genja is late. Genja is on the far side and he's finally made it to the team. But there's a lot of some damage that's down on Gambit, and we're going to see a straight up 5v5. This could be a smite fight.
Yeah, Darien actually diving in there. They've stopped attacking the Dragon at this point as Darien turns back around. They're trying to keep those tanks out of the fight, but Jankos is moving in there. There's a shockwave going to come down, which will actually be Alex Ich falling as well. And Gambit are slowly but surely being ripped to pieces here. Edward is very low. Darien is very low. Ace in the hole. Blocked. No! So close to taking Darien with him as Xaxus finishes off Genja on the bottom side. That's two men down, and Selva is coming in. That's a kill, and the man on the turret is Diamond. He's actually going to be low. Gets a good turn up.
He got it!
Oh, through the wall. Diamond goes down as well. That's 4 kills for nothing. That is the team fighting beast that we've seen Roccat produce again and again.
And the decision-making from Overpower. He did not engage with his team. Salavan Vander had been zoned out at the bottom of the river. Jankos and Xaxus were running interference against 4 members of Gambit, and Overpower flanked. They stalled long enough for Overpower to come in from the blue buff area, get a lot of damage from behind, and we said it. When Gambit are under pressure, they split up. They did exactly the same thing, and Roccat hunted them down. Now Darien's going to try to interrupt this Baron as best as he can, but I think he may just lose his life.
And it is going to be going down there. Smite used in the end by Jankos, and Darien is going to get pulled back. That's a great intervention onto Vander. Almost taken down by the shockwave of Alex Ich. Roccat safe, thank you very much. Another kill. Baron, we're going to go home now.
Shockwave only caught Vander. Didn't even deal damage to him thanks to that intervention. And now that they've got Baron, Roccat have got themselves a 5,000 gold lead. They can decide to either siege towers, or in this situation, they're going straight for Dragon. This whole fight, this whole engagement started around Dragon, and now Roccat have got the superior regen to pick this fight. Most of their ultimates are sitting on cooldown in Gambit. They're looking for some exit kills. I don't know if they're going to be able to get any. Jankos takes the lantern. And great passage of play from Roccat.
Right now, 2,800 gold for Mundo, 1,400 on Olaf, 2,600 for Kale, 2,000 on Caitlyn, and 1,400 for Thresh as well. That is going to be a massive power spike coming out of this one. And it doesn't really get much better than that. You get 4 kills at this stage of the game. You get a Baron, a Dragon, and a Tower after that one as well. Perfect stuff out of Roccat.
If Genja goes a little bit forward, he's going to be popped. Oh, Overpower just got a little antsy. And I think you're right. You know, the fact that they've got the gold lead, and now that it's been spent, and those items are being converted to statistical advantages, it's going to be very difficult for Gambit to win straight-up team fights. They have to catch somebody off guard with either a Shen ultimate, or they have to split push their way to map control. Those are the only 2 ways to make up this sort of 7,000-8,000 gold difference.
An outright buy of the Void Staff there for Overpower. If he wasn't hurting already, then he's just going to be causing them some even further problems. He's currently a 6,000 gold lead here for Roccat. Edward getting the stun off onto a very tanky now Jankos, who's also at 205 the scoreboard, looking very, very healthy across it as Darien here at the front of things, where I'm not sure what he's trying to achieve from that one. He takes more damage than he can give out.
Yeah, I think Gambit were a little bit aware that they had the numbers advantage, so Roccat, they needed to back away. You know, if somebody were to get a little bit caught, Gambit could have committed to that fight. But now, interestingly, because split pushing is one of the things that Gambit can do to respond, we actually see Overpow playing the split push game. This is what he did against Ninjas in Pajamas. He pulled multiple members towards him and oftentimes won those duels. And Gambit have to send somebody to respond because that's 50% of the tower HP gone.
And he sent 2 people to respond on this one. Intervention used, and he turns around on towards Genja. There is a flash from Overpow. Can he escape this one? The burnout is coming down, but there is a super mega death rocket to get the shutdown, and finally they deal with Overpow.
Yeah, Jankos is a little bit of trouble, should be able to Ragnarok his way out of this. Doesn't even need it.
Don't even need that. He's just going to walk away, even doing a good chunk on towards Diamond as he went as well. Meanwhile, Xaxus, he's pushing the top lane all alone, and with Darian now headed back, that turret might just get finished off, and it is going to be done. Third turret of the game, actually, for Roccat, and now he's going straight in onto Darian as well.
Yeah, and with the amount of resistances he has, he's actually able to sort of out-trade against Darian. Darian needs to go all in. He has to commit to a full fight if he wants to try and win out that trade. And Xaxus now, he has no vision to work with, which is why part of the reason Overpower got caught out. There's not enough wards on the Gambit side of the map for Roccat to get away with these plays without maybe running the risk of getting caught out. They do manage to steal red and a very cheeky escape.
Yeah, that was Vander just watching them basically come around there and went straight into the Baron pit through that Lantern over. All very safe here for Roccat. So let's have a look down some of the items here once again. We can see the supports Locket of the Iron Solari actually coming out for Vander. And now if we compare that over to Edward, and we don't really touch on this one because it's always great to see, you know, support Kennen being able to out-duel an AD carry, which he can't do at this point of this game. And he offers less when it comes to the team fights because he's going to get burst down faster than Vander is.
And remember, in terms of picks and bans, Jinx and Shen were picks 1 and 2, and originally it was the likes of Jinx Annie, and we were thinking, well, you know, they might go for that support. You have to question whether or not it was smart to give away the Thresh on to a player like Vander who's done well with it, and knowing you have Edward on your team who's a phenomenal Thresh player as well. The fact that he hasn't got a single item comp for you with the exception of his boots, and the fact that he's got no GP10, means it's going to take a very long time for Edward to even catch up to the utility that Vander's currently offering. Got a lot of vision down, he's got that Locket, and very soon the coin of the Talisman of Ascension should be completed as well.
Is Overpower going to spot Diamond? He was just having to think about having a sneaky peek on towards that blue, but there are 4 men there. They had a fight here before. This time around, they basically sacrificed that middle turret for the sake of that blue buff, and they're completely out positioned for the inner tower as well.
Teleport's available here for Xaxus, so if Roccat continue to focus down the tower, they can pull in Dr. Mundo for the fight, and it looks like it's starting.
Yeah, going on towards Celiva, but he's just able to kite back. There comes another hook out of them. Surely Darian's going down. Stun Unite, and it's enough to keep them alive. Overpower nearly died. He put the ulti on Vander there. I think he was supposed to go on himself, and now Gambit are chasing them back. I don't think they can get any further though. And that ends with no kills, but 2 very close ones.
Roccat can carry on sieging on the tower if they want to. They know Stand United is not available. They've caught Diamond.
They've caught Shen, and he's lost half of his health because of that. There goes the ace in the hole. Genja tried to block it. I think he had second thoughts there and didn't really block it in the end. Now Alex the one getting the hit. Celiva, of course, can just regen himself, and Overpower has gone down to the bottom lane to try and split push that one out as well.
Yeah, and knowing that they have those key ultimates from Gambit unavailable is going to allow Roccat to siege. Keep in mind, Slicing Maelstrom is available for Edward if he wants to go in. Roccat gets 1 tower. The question is, can they get the next one on this wave?
Well, Overpower still going here onto the inhib turret. Gambit, they've got 4 men defending on this inner turret in the middle lane. They finally sent Shen over there, but I don't think Diamond can do anything against Overpower.
No, he can't deal with that. That's a Void Staff Lich Bane that's going to melt through his Spectre's cowl. He's not going to be able to duel him, so good play from Roccat. And now the moment Genja shows himself in the top lane to deal with the minions, this is going to be another tower. And Roccat, they're not stopping the siege. They're now going onto the inhib turrets.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, really. I mean, that lane had started to push in as well. They were scared that that one was going to start to be pushed through as Celiva throws out the ace in the hole. Turret already started to be worked on as Jankos going to take a lot of damage from this one, but he pops his Ragnarok, just gets himself out of there. In the meantime, Roccat have been hammering onto the tower. Can't quite see its health at this point, but damage enough, and they'll feel that as a big win for them with Baron up in 10.
This entire duration, Flash and Slicing Maelstrom were available for Edward, and he didn't use it. That's a support character that's throwing out a couple of skill shots, and that's it. He offered no CC, he offered very little damage, and his presence in that entire fight was next to nothing. Compare that to Vander, who landed, what, 3 clutch hooks, which allowed them to get a lot of damage, which allowed them to take out 2 turrets, both the inners, and get an extensive amount of damage on the mid and bottom inhibitor turrets.
Yeah, the mid one down to just 600 health actually after that one. Obviously going to be regenning itself up at this point. Baron is now on the map as well. We see a couple more items coming in. Quicksilver Sash there for Celiver, which makes him very, very hard to lock down. I mean, they've not got masses of CCs to throw his way anyway, which means that he's pretty much got an easy escape out of that one. They've got pink wards now on the Baron, and I can imagine that Roccat are just going to get in position and start this one off.
Yeah, I think they're in such a strong position with the gold lead they've built up and the fact that they can win pretty much any fight that gets started. Roccat can now pull Gambit towards them, and this is what they're doing. In order for Gambit to sort of stay relevant and prevent the next 4 minutes being a siege party, they have to steal this or stop it. Overpower's going to try flank and come in from behind. We'll see if he can get his hands on a squishy target.
Darian has to get into the middle of them, and Alex has to hit the shockwave at the right time from this one. Overpower's just pushing that middle wave out. He's going to flank around and join the rest of his team from this one, but Roccat, they're just you know, head and shoulders stronger right now than Gambit if a fight kicks off. They have to land everything perfect, Gambit, otherwise they're going to get destroyed.
Yeah, Gambit need to catch somebody out of position. I actually think they're too far behind against the tanks of Mundo in order to actually win a straight-up fight, especially when you add in that intervention. And, you know, we talked a lot earlier in the game how Stand United or intervention can win team fights, and we've seen it happening in the mid lane. Stand United kept Darren alive, and the intervention allowed Roccat to keep sieging. As it stands, Roccat are going to keep playing this game, keep pulling Gambit towards them until one of them missteps. One of them steps a little out of line and allows Overpower to get on them. Overpower's looking for Edward, Genja, or Alex. And if you can get on one, that'll be the team fight key.
Or Diamond, or Darian. Rabadon's death cap is now added into his build from you can literally get anyone at this stage of things. Blue buff lasts about 3 seconds. Always a nice pickup for him. And actually a recall coming in there from Vander. So I guess he just wants to pick one last thing up. And will actually be Ruby Sightstone. I think that he finished off with that one, and they're coming back in. However, they've left this middle turret somewhat undefended. The 2 tanks have now come across.
This is the fight.
Looks like they're going to go for this one. Actually, they are going to be going for it. Diamond is the one focused here by Jankos, who's slowing them all down as he goes. Vander is not there just yet, though, and Roccat decides to disengage.
Yeah, that was a 4 versus 4. Genja was arriving late to the party, and Vander was still getting up into that mid lane. And with Xaxus moving down bottom to clear the wave out, his teleport is almost available. I think we'll be seeing a replay of the last few minutes where Roccat can either siege up the towers and control the lanes, or they can carry on baiting Baron. Both options are available because Xaxus can rejoin the combat thanks to his teleport.
It's a 10,000 gold lead now that Roccat have from this one. And Overpower here catching out Darren. You can see he's going to ulti straight out of this one. But will he be able to escape from Overpower? Yes, he will. He's Shyvana. Burnout on. Off you go.
Yeah, it does manage to get out. It's going to lifesteal a little bit off the double golems. Look at Gambit backing away. If Genja shows himself in this bottom lane, Roccat could potentially instantly go for that Baron. You see Xaxus continues to split push. Somebody from Gambit has to respond. And with Roccat having, you know, a number of sweeping lenses, they're controlling the vision game. They're denying Gambit the option to surprise them. Roccat are just playing this one flawlessly.
Here's the Baron started off once again. They spot that Edward and Darian are at the back, and they disengage. Play it safe because Xaxus is pushing. This entire time he's pushing up now on towards the bottom inhibitor turret. Again, Gambit are going to be forced into a 4 versus 4. They're obviously, I mean, they need to send Shen back to deal with this one, but instead they've sent the AD carry.
Yeah, Genja, again, it's the Gambit philosophy. If Genja's not strong enough, he's the one that deals with the split pushing or does the split pushing. Diamond is in range. This could come down to a smite fight. Who's going to get it?
Oh, Darian off towards the side. Actually, they've managed to land the hook over onto Diamond at the back there, but the Baron nonetheless picked up by Roccat. Ace in the hole not needed. Overpower got that one, and the slows that are going to come into this one surely make it impossible to escape. Flay on towards Edward. He puts his ulti in there. Going to offer them a little bit, but possibly not enough because Roccat, they've taken their second kill of the fight, and they're going to keep pushing.
Yeah, they've got so so much HP to work with. The intervention is still there for Overpower. It wasn't used in that last fight, and with having the super tanky members of Roccat up on the front line, they should be able to just force down this tower. We finally see Edward using his slicing maelstrom, but he still has no real items completed right now. A little bit of HP, a little bit of ability power, but it did nothing in that fight. It did nothing to stop Roccat. They've got one inhibitor and they're turning to the bottom.
Yeah, going for inhibitor number 2 of this one. Darian is up there in their face. He's got a lantern there, Zazas, if he needs to take it to get away, but not sure that it does, to be honest. Overpower just steps forward there, swings the sword a couple of times. That turret is going to be falling low here. Watch how much damage Overpower does to that one. Instant death pretty much for it once they actually get the focus onto it. Inhibitor going to suffer a similar fate. Roccat starting to back away now, or are they? I mean, they've got the regen coming in from the Baron. They could rotate, push that top wave out and go there now.
Yeah, realizing that Gambit have several members with home guards on, I don't think they wanted to run the risk of getting caught out by that immense speed boost. So smart decision by Roccat. They've actually backed away. They're going to catch Darian.
Oh, they're going to catch Darian, which is something that happens quite often. Recently less so, I think, as another hook comes in just to finish that one off. Yeah, Jankos actually got the kill from that. And now, actually, with the just 4 men up, I wonder if they're just going to keep pushing from this one. They've got so much gold to spend. 3k on Overpower, over 2k on most of the other guys as well. They can back off and come back stronger again.
I think at this point, because they've got the Baron buff still in their favor for another 2 minutes, your initial call of pushing the top lane seems to be the goal here. Celiva backed away. He's pushing up the top wave, got that Infinity Edge completed now. And once the wave is pushing towards Gambit, Roccat is just going to carry on playing this siege game. The damage difference between Celiva and Genja right now is massive, in addition to the fact that he's got that Quicksilver Sash for defense as well.
But Genja's got the farm, and that's what Gambit were trying to do, and you said often it can cost them games. He showed himself in positions where Roccat have just made the best of it after seeing that diamond. He's clearing out some wards whilst his top tower here is going to be started on. There's a shockwave. It didn't really do a lot, and Edward now going to be chased down. Ace in the hole lands on towards Alex. That's 2 men down. Roccat can win the game right here as he going towards diamond. Another hook lands. Overpower just blows him to pieces, and this is now Genja and Darian to save the game for Gambit. Can they hold on here against a big push from Roccat? I don't think they can. They know that they can't as they back away on towards the fountain. The hook thrown out. The second Nexus turret goes down. Roccat going to pile on through and pick up the victory here against Gambit Gaming and put themselves into a guaranteed 2nd position.